Hello guys, today we are going to learn variables in Python in only 5 minutes, right? So we'll start with what are variables and then we'll do some hands-on practice using Python. So what is variable? Consider variable as a bucket. So you store whatever in it. Let's say I store flour in it, right? Flower, right? I cannot draw it. I'm very bad at drawing. So I store flour in it, right? It will keep flour in this bucket. This variable bucket will keep flour in it as long as there is anything else come into it. So let's say now I want to add a stone into bucket. So if I'll add a stone into bucket, it will automatically remove the flour. So it will just remove the flour and it will store stone in it permanently as long as there is something else coming in it, right? So let's say we have a variable x, right? So x is our variable bucket. So I store 3 in it, and later on I decide I want to store, let's say, USA in it, right? So it will discard 3 and it will store USA, and later on if I'll say now I want to store Europe in it, so it will discard USA as well, and then it will store Europe. So let's go in Python and have some hands-on practice. I have already written some codes for you so that I can easily explain it. So first of all, how can we assign some value to a variable? So just write a variable name on left hand side, an equal to sign, and then 100 or whatever value you want to assign it, right? And then we are just printing it out. So let's run it. Here you can see that it is printing number, which is 100, right? So here we are assigning 100 to number variable, and then we are assigning 150 to number variable, and then we are printing it out. Guess what? It will store the latest value. So previously it stored 100, and then when 150 came, it forgot 100 and it stored 150. So that's why it is printing 150. And here, that is how you print two variables, and num1 is 10, num2 is 20. Let's print it out. So it says 10, 20, right? So if I want to initiate a variable, it's called initiating a variable, right? So whenever you store a value for the very first time in a variable, it's called initiating a variable. So if you want to initiate multiple variables at a time with just one value, you can use this command. So a equals to b equals to c equals to 100. Let's print it out. So all the values are a, b, c are 100. So what is happening actually, it starts executing from right hand side, my right hand side. So it will store 100 in c. Now this highlighted line is executed, and this line has 100 in it. So 100 will be stored in b as well. Now this is executed and it has 100 in it, so 100 will be stored in a. So that's why it is printing 100, 100, 100. Now if you want to store distinct values using one line and multiple variables, you can do something like, you can provide variable names with comma separated variable names on left hand side, then equal to, and then comma separated values, and they will store the values respectively, which means num1 will be having 10, num2 will be having 20. Let's execute it. Here you can see that, right? And I think that's about the assignment. It's not assignment, but it's mean assignment of variable, of assigning a value to the variable. Then we want to let's say we have a variable that where we are storing 23.5, which is a floating point value, right? And we are storing a floating point value in a value variable. And later on we decide, no, we want to store a string in it. So variables are very flexible. They variable will not say that, okay, previously you stored a float value, now I'm not going to accept any string value. Keep storing some floating point value in me. So that's why they're very flexible. If floating point value was stored previously, they impose no objection if we store any other value in it, right? And then let's talk about variable names. Let me go back to the slide. So variable name, I mean, you can name your variables. I've named it value, and previously I've named it number, num1, or whatever you want. You can name your variable whatever you want, but there are some rules, and let's discuss those rules. So we can use uppercase and lowercase letters from A to Z, capital A to Z small, right? We can use all the digits, and we can use underscores, right? So we can, and we can use any combination of these 3 points, but we cannot use a variable name that starts with a number, that starts with a digit, right? We cannot use, we can use a variable name num, right? Or num underscore 9, or, but we cannot use a variable name 9 underscore num or something, right? So we cannot start a variable name with a digit. And another thing is, I think let's come to this third point later on. Let's practice this first point. So I have some correct ways of implementing variable names. You can see that these are different combinations, small case, large case, starting with large case, and then mixture of it, and then just large case, and underscores, starting with underscores, and just, if we run it, it completely, you know, runs successfully. But if we run this one that is starting with a digit, if we run it, here you can see that it says invalid decimal literal, which means we cannot start a variable name with decimal. Now last thing is, we cannot use reserve words. So reserve words are those words that are predefined in Python. So these are 33, basically there are 33 reserve words, and these are the all reserve words provided in Python. So you cannot use any of these as a reserve word. So let's say this is if is a reserve word. This is def, this is also a reserve word, and we cannot use that. So if we will say if equals to 4, it will say no, that cannot happen, right? Another thing that you might have noticed, that h in small and h in capital are different variables, right? So that's about the variables, and more fun stuff is coming up with the Python. So subscribe our channel, hit the bell icon, and if you're a beginner and you want to start a data science career, you're welcome.